Welcome back. We have the federal leader of the Green Party joining us on the show today, Elizabeth May, joining us in Kamloops for a one-day stopover. It's great to have you here.
It's wonderful to be here, Susan.
Yes. And along with you, of course, we have Dan Hines, Donovan Cavers, our two local Green candidates. You're here to bolster some support.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these guys. We happen to have known each other and through different things. I've known Dan Hines through non-Green Party connections over the years, and I've known Donovan Cavers from way before he was elected to Kamloops City Council, which has now happened twice. So these are spectacular candidates, and as a BC resident and as the only federal party leader who's from British Columbia, I really want better government for this province. So I'm very, very proud to be able to do anything I can to boost their chances in the upcoming May 9th election.
Fantastic. What are your biggest concerns with the Liberal leadership in BC right now?
Well, my concerns with government overall is there's been a real disconnect from the needs of this province. Whether we're looking at education in our schools, the housing crisis, which is acute just about everywhere you look in BC, and also our healthcare system. I really do want to see a government that puts the needs of our communities first, and that's a question of priorities. And when I see the BC Green Party platform, I think that Leader Andrew Weaver has really identified some key issues. And people may think of the Green Party as just an environmental party. We're way more than that. We're really focused on getting our priorities right for our communities, and that includes employment. It includes a healthy economy, because you can't have any of the programs you need without that. But the program is balanced and it's sensible. And it's also one of the strengths of Greens is that we work across party lines. So we're not going to be elbows out all the time. I'm not in Ottawa. I work across party lines. Your MP, Cathy McLeod, and I are friends. I mean, there's no point going into public life and serving your community and saying, I'm only going to work with people who think just like me. It's like, you don't check your brain at the door. Work across party lines.
Absolutely. For both questions, for both of you guys, Donovan and Dan, do you guys think that you're offering for Kamloops constituents a viable alternative?
Yeah, and I think it's been long overdue in BC. I mean, we've seen this sort of two-party politics go back and forth in this kind of a swing from one government to another government, and then they kind of undo all of the things that the other government has been working on, and that's been the story of BC. So now this excitement is growing about a viable third party that is maybe able, like Elizabeth was saying, to form a collaboration and be a collaborative government instead of one that's combative and negative. Because we've seen a lot of that in this campaign, a lot of negative advertising and a lot of attack ads. That kind of vitriol, that kind of negativity, it destroys the very foundation, I think, of democracy itself, which is the ability for us to all listen to one another and collaborate and get along.
Yeah, I think the first leaders debate was a prime example of that, where we saw John Horgan and Christy Clark basically talking over each other the entire time, and then Andrew Weaver would just wait patiently, and then he would make a salient common sense point, and then Christy Clark and John Horgan again would start to squabble, and that's basically what we've had in our province for a few decades, is these two really polarized parties, and they're becoming more and more entrenched. And when I'm talking to people door knocking, they see it as a parallel to what the situation is in the US, where there's these two parties, and they're really excited that we have an organized third party that could potentially bridge that divide and get a bit more kind of meaningful communication happening in our provincial government.
Donovan, what do you think you offer the constituents in the Council of Thompson that perhaps your other cohorts cannot?
Yeah, so as a city councillor, I have a pretty strong record on some issues like the proposed Ajax mine. Unfortunately, the other two candidates are sitting on the fence on that issue, and I've proved myself as a strong advocate that doesn't bite my tongue, that I stand up for what I believe in, and I'm very proactive in my work as a city councillor that I've done in the past. And I'm always very available when people call. I think most of my colleagues that I've worked with on City Council would attest to the fact that I'm very on top of things. When we get emails to the general City Council email, I'm right on top of it, and I get back to people and I work with them until I've come to a resolution of their problems.
I understand you guys' biggest issues here for our region. Healthcare is a big concern. Aging population when it comes to healthcare, that's a big one. What would you try and do differently?
We're looking at a new investment in healthcare, and not just in primary care and acute care, but actually in preventative care, which we think has been a very neglected part of the healthcare field. taking the funding that we would normally just sort of assume that it's all going to go into primary and acute care and say, you know, there's a need for us to really look at how people are getting sick in the first place, about nutrition in the schools with our young people, a very, very key part of overall health, and all of the social determinants of health. I mean, when Stevie's talking about health, it bridges into every other part of everyone's platform, right? It goes into housing, it goes into social services, it goes into our education system. So I think as Greens, one of the things we offer is we look at things comprehensively, we look at the interconnections between things, and if you look at our platform carefully, you realize that it overlaps. We're very attentive to a holistic understanding of what's going on in society.
We're halfway through the election campaign here. You guys have probably been doing a ton of door knocking, but how will you be spending the next couple of weeks?
More door knocking.
Yeah, lots of forums.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, the forum that we had last night, we had a really good response, both Dan and I, after that forum. And I think we've really proven ourselves that we're very credible candidates, and that's showing in our team. We have a huge group of volunteers that have gotten behind us. We have a lot of people that have donated, individuals, because we're not accepting any big union or corporate donations. But we've had
even small ones.
Or even small ones, yeah. But we're only taking donations from people. And we've had a tremendous level of support from people that have gotten behind us and are just really excited that there's this alternative to the two parties that they've reluctantly voted for, because a lot of people voted for one party because they didn't want the other party to get in, and voted for the BC Liberals because they didn't want the NDP to get in, and they're really excited that they can vote for something this time.
Yeah, that's really been the secret sauce. Every time Greens get elected, the first time I was elected in Saanich Gulf Islands, the first time Andrew Weaver was elected in Oak Bay, Gordon Head, and the leaders of the parties of the Green Party in New Brunswick and PEI also were elected. Every time we get elected, it's because voters have gotten excited and happy and enthusiastic about going out and putting that X down. So when Greens are getting elected, what you see is higher voter turnout. So for anyone watching, if you didn't vote last time, give your head a shake, get out and vote for whatever party you want. But you will change politics when you get out and vote, particularly young people. Go to that voting booth and mark your X and make BC a better and healthier province.
Fantastic. You guys, thank you for being here. I just wanted to ask one last question. I think we probably have another minute. Swinging from the provincial side of things to the federal side of things, of course, Elizabeth May, with the Trump administration now making some big decisions, imposing tariffs up to, I believe, 24% on our softwood. My question to you would be, do you think that we need to retaliate with sort of a similar punitive approach when it comes to our exports or importing their goods to us?
Well, it's very clear. I mean, I've worked on the softwood lumber issue for years, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get this resolved under the previous U.S. administration, because our existing agreement was up some time ago, so we should have been moving on it. And I had pushed them on that. But we are where we are, and I think caution is appropriate. We don't want to be doing a tit-for-tat trade war with the U.S. Everyone will lose. We need to have cooler heads prevailing. Clearly, this tariff on our softwood lumber is unfair. It is taking aim at our products unfairly. We have to defend our own industries. And we also have to be aware that there are, if Donald Trump wants to give the 6 months notice and get out of NAFTA, it's an easy thing he could do. It would hurt both countries' economies. So we need to work our way forward federally to see if we can get him talking about renegotiating the pieces of NAFTA that he doesn't like. There's pieces of NAFTA the Green Party doesn't like. Let's try to create a negotiated discussion with some diplomacy. On the other hand, we are dealing with a U.S. president who's breaking all precedents in terms of whether he's diplomatic, whether he thinks things through. So we have to be prepared to protect our industries.
You're talking about calmer heads or cooler heads prevailing, but that is, those words and the word Donald Trump, to me, don't really go in the same sentence.
Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting times ahead for us.
It is. And also he has to carry along with him, can he bring along the Republicans in Congress? Will they keep supporting him if he's destroying the economies of their states? And there are a lot of senators like John McCain saying, don't pull out of NAFTA, because that will be a big blow to the economy of my state. Let's just see how. But for now, I think we absolutely have to defend our forest products industry. And I wish we stop. This is another provincial jurisdictional issue. We have to stop exporting solid wood and raw logs before we get them to our sawmills. We need jobs in value-added in our forest products, and we need to protect that industry.
All right, you guys, we are out of time. I appreciate you weighing
Thanks.
in on that issue because that's a big one as well. But provincially speaking, you guys have a couple of weeks left. I wish you the best of luck as you get out there and meet the constituents. And thanks to the three of you for being here today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Very welcome. Quick break. We'll be back with more Midday. Stay with us.